Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar. I'm going to take a few minutes before we get started to say hello to some people that are already on. I'm going to go to the chat box and say hello. Hello, good evening, Michelle Dickerson. Oh, you're going fast. Everyone's going fast. So Crystal, Marjorie, Jennifer, Robin, Shanice, welcome. Great evening, everyone. Great evening. Good evening. Wow, lots of people. Great evening. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. In 2 minutes, we're going to get started. Great evening. The floodgates are open. I'm just as excited as you are. Good evening. Hope everyone's having a great and safe evening. Hello, Lisa and Monique, Cheryl, D. Montgomery. Great evening. From all over the place. Let's see. I saw Barbados. I saw Decatur, Alabama, DC, Frisco, Texas, New York. Great evening. Great evening. South Carolina, Yashika Harmon, welcome. Markayla Morel, welcome. Sandy, Rob Wimberly from Chicago, Tracy Newton, Chicago, welcome. Cynthia Sessions, good evening to you. Hello, Marla Jackson. Good evening. Pam Cameron, great evening out there in California. Sophia Hill, welcome. Very excited to be here this evening. Hello, Peaches Howell, Gail, Natasha, good evening. Sherry Cooper, Robin Fisher, welcome. Dorothy from New York. Philadelphia is in the house. Clarksville, Tennessee, great evening. Yvette Gorell from Virginia. It's 7 o'clock straight up. Welcome, we're gonna get started, but what I wanna do is, again, thank you all for joining into the basic training for Planet Marketing. And I wanna bring up my brothers in success that are gonna help me unpack this amazing information. The first gentleman I'm gonna bring up, he is the #2 income earner in all of Planet Marketing. He is a 6-star director, which means he has a team of well over 10,000 families. He dons that diamond ring, signifying earnings of over $500,000 in a 12-month calendar period residually. He is a founding director. He has a heart of gold. We call him the General. Do we have Director Orlanda Moore out there with us this evening? Director Moore?
Absolutely, Ms. Ross. I am out here. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear and see you loud and clear. You look very dapper this evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I want to bring up our other brother in success. You all know him, you love him. He is the #1 income earner in all of Planet Marketing. He has led the charge from day one, being a founding director, but being the first of every level that there is to achieve in Planet Marketing. He is a 6-star director, wearing a double diamond ring, signifying earnings of a minimum of $83,333 a month. We call him Mr. Fantastic, Fabulous, and Amazing. Our brother in success, Mr. Shedrick White. Do I have you out there as well?
Miss Eileen Ross, I'm here in the counter for you. You look amazing. Mr. Orlanda Moore, you look amazing. Welcome to the planet.
Welcome. We're going to jump right in, gentlemen, to talk about a very powerful topic. We talked about getting started last week, but what do we find that is the most challenging for people getting into this industry, particularly if you're new to network marketing? There's something that we all need to get better at, and that is, how do we pique interest? Mr. Moore, Mr. White, well, we'll start with Mr. Moore. Talk about that. Why is this topic so important for people just getting started, as well as people that have been in the business for quite some time?
Well, Ms. Ross, this is the first step when you talk about the proven success system, of course, that we have here in Planet Marketing called the PS3. The first step is to pique interest. So if you get that down pat, the rest of it is really smooth sailing, because this is a business that you earn while you learn. And it's a skill set that you must develop, because you got to get good at piquing interest. And that's the very first thing that all of us must really get good at, Ms. Ross. Piquing interest, very first thing we got to do. And it's a skill set, and everybody can develop it. That's what's powerful.
Absolutely. Mr. White?
Well, Ms. Ross, I agree with Mr. Moore. When a person gets started, they join the business, they purchase the business, and they're excited, but they have this anxiety although they join, now what do I say to people? You know, I have friends, I have people that I know, and we're saying go get people, but I don't know what to say. And so they're looking for how not to make that phone weigh 1,000 pounds, how to have a confidence. And so piquing interest, as Mr. Moore said, is a skill that can be learned. But once they get this down, then the rest of it, I agree with him, is smooth sailing, because this is the first step. But once you get past the first step, then the rest comes right in order, Ms. Ross.
Wonderful. Let's just jump right in. Now, we're going to talk about sharing your business effectively, but let's first define what pique means. To pique someone's interest is to arouse, stimulate, or excite them by sharing something. And what do we have to share in this great business model? Let's talk about our product first and foremost. We sell travel, and guess what? Everyone loves to travel. Travel is still being talked about right now because people are looking for places to go. How many people do you know that would love to go to Walt Disney World, or they go all the time every year? It wouldn't be nice to know that as a partner, they now have access to Disney in a different way. What about becoming a travelpreneur? What's a travelpreneur? See the world, make money, and do what you love all at the same time. That sounds like the ideal profession. So what else can you do in this business? You can also make supplemental income by booking travel for other people. Save a lot of money by booking your own travel and earning a commission, or you need a travel agent rate. But it's because of that responsible partnership. But also in our business model, you get a chance to empower people with the #1 industry in the world. That means you have a travel business, but you're also in the business of travel. So it's very, very important to understand you have so many different avenues, you have so many different to share with people, but you got to understand what they're looking for. And you know, Bill Brent came up with a very powerful formula for success. And he says the share always comes before the sale. You know, your overall goal is to share information and then collect a decision, right? Bill Brent says, I simply showed the plan to 1,200 people. 900 of those people, oh, something happened. 900 of those people said no. And only, let me take a look because it's blocked. And only 300 signed up. Out of those 300, only 85 did anything at all. Out of those 85, only 35 were serious. And out of those 35, 11 made me a millionaire. Mr. Moore, can you talk about that? People think you need everybody. You don't need everyone. You need the right ones. Is that not correct?
That's absolutely correct, Ms. Ross. And I always tell people, you don't have to talk to everybody in the whole world. Just talk to everybody in your world. And people miss that concept, Ms. Ross. They think you got to go out there and talk to it. No, relax. You already have the relationship with people. And Ms. Ross, that's the other point I really wanted to make in regards to piquing interest. You talked about the definition of it. Well, what goes along with that, you have to know that person. How do I know what excites you? How do I know how to stimulate you, right? How do I know what to share with you if I don't have that rapport built? So building rapport is part of the piquing interest. And then, Ms. Ross, as I stated, you don't have to talk to everybody in the whole world. Just talk to everybody in your world. And that's exactly where you start, by simply sharing information. Ms. Ross?
Awesome. Director Shedrick White, being the professional decision collector. And that's another thing. Yet Mr. Moore talked about, you know, talk to people in your world, got to build that rapport. But the decision collector, that's a very important part of this as well.
Ms. Ross, I agree 1,000%. You know, many people know I came out of the restaurant industry, so I often like to use an analogy where the waitress goes around and they ask the customer, would you care for coffee? And there are people who love coffee and there are people who don't want coffee, but she's not attached to the outcome, Ms. Ross. You know, a lot of times I think what happens is people get attached to the person saying yes or no, so they won't share anything. They want it to be perfect. And if they begin to understand, don't get attached to the no, you got to work the numbers, but not treat people like numbers, Ms. Ross, then they can be liberated and they can really see their business grow. So I love what Mr. Moore just said. You don't have to talk to everybody in the world, but everybody in your world. And this is just simply showing you got to be able to share before you can actually get them in business. Nobody's just going to walk up to you and say, you look traveling. Nobody's just going to walk up to you and say, did you purchase a business? No, you got to tell people, you got to share it. And then if they're interested, great. If they're not, great. But you'll never know unless you share it, Ms. Ross.
Never know unless you share. Now, let's talk about what you are sharing, right? I'm going to put all of these up on the screen. And Mr. Moore, I want you to, you're really good about, you talk about building rapport. So these are some of the things that we've got to embrace first. We've got to remember why we got in the business, right? And that builds our posture and it helps us identify what other people can get from this business. Mr. Moore, can you tackle this particular aspect of sharing?
Ms. Ross, you see, I had to put my eyes on, right? And the fact is, Ms. Ross, the fact is, honestly, that's really what makes it powerful and simple for people. And I oftentimes say that if you're looking for a complex formula, you're going to miss this. See, people think, I got to think of something, I got to be scripted. No, what was it for you? Why did you get started? Why did you join? What got you excited? What made you motivated? What inspired you? What did you hear? What did you see that piqued your interest? And those are the things that you should share. It's basically telling your story. What was it for you? Because chances are, the people that you have the relationship with, guess what, guys? They are like you. They are like-minded, chances are. So when you share your excitement, what was it for you, why you got started, man, I saw this, I saw that, and now you pouring that and sharing it with people that you have the rapport built with, people don't want to be left out. And we got to fully understand that. I call it the fear of loss. So when you sharing from your excitement, your enthusiasm, man, I found a way to win. I can't let you miss this. And that's why I use that as one of my favorite phrases, because I made it about the person. And subliminally, I sent them a message and said, I'm not missing it. That's part of what I share, Ms. Ross, when I'm talking about why I got started. I always use that phrase. And listen, Mr. White, I found a way to win for my family. I found a way to earn some additional cash flow in my household. And listen, man, I can't let you miss this. See, that's my excitement, but also brought it to him, right? And subconsciously, he's thinking, well, I don't want to miss it because of my enthusiasm, my excitement, not just what I shared, but how I shared it. Ms. Ross?
Right, Mr. Moore, you're exactly right. And really, what are you sharing? Why did you get started with this business? Why did you join? When you start writing down the answers to these questions, it helps you to understand, first of all, remember why you got started, but also be able to relate to other people. Why did you join? What was it about it? What got you excited about the presentation or the information that you saw? What is your end zone? What do you plan? What is your goal with this business? What do you love about Planet Marketing? What do you love about IntelliTravel? Think about those things, because when you said in that meeting or that webinar or that travel showcase, you fell in love. What do you love about the culture of our business? What are your feelings about our trainings, our support that we provide? Do you see the value of how much it costs for your business, as well as the compensation plan? And Mr. White, I really want you to talk about some of these things that are really powerful tools or powerful takeaways, and just anywhere else have anything like the Planet Pledge. Mr. White, there are so many things that you love about what we talked about that you can share and pull from other people.
Absolutely, Ms. Ross. And one of the things that Mr. Moore said, and I want to jump to this, but he said something so key. He said it's your excitement, it's your enthusiasm. And when people get started, they should be excited, right? But it's really not the words you say, it's the music you play. And see, if you're excited, people will turn you up. But if you're dull because you're fearful and, oh my goodness, what am I going to say? People are going to tune you out. And so again, Ms. Ross, when you think about it, why did you join? There was something that you saw, as he touched on. Why did you join? That's what you share with people. Don't try to over sensationalize. Don't try to, what I got to make up this. No, just tell why you got excited, as you said. And when you look at their end zone, you got to figure out why do you believe this business can help them? And when you keep it natural, when you talk to your friends, people that you know about why you got started, why it benefited you, and you just let them know, hey, I think this is something that can help you. I'm not sure, but I think this is something that can really make a difference in your life. I think that people will be open to hearing what you got to say, but I do want to make this point. It's really not the words you say, it's the music you play. If you try to be analytical and you're trying to figure out what's the right words to say, you're going to miss it because you're going to overthink it. But if you're excited, if you catch on fire, people won't come from miles around and watch you burn, Ms. Ross.
And I think that the most powerful thing that both of you said was the people that you know. Mr. White, Mr. Moore, we already know the hot buttons. We already know the needs of the people that we know. And we try to think of all the other things that we should say other than the things that will appeal to that person. If I have a friend and I know that she's been looking for a part-time job because she wants to bring extra income to her home, but I sit here thinking, maybe I should tell her about how many cruises you can go on in a year. Maybe I should, no, she needs to know about income. And what did Mr. Bradley say? When he first got started in this business, before he got started, the first person that shared business with him had a lei around her neck and was talking about travel to Hawaii. And he says, I was in between blessings. I couldn't travel. But the second person that introduced him to the travel industry said, Mr. Bradley, I know that you love to travel. You should think about owning this travel business. He appealed to, he knew what to share based on the needs of the person that he was talking to, his friend. So let's go on. Now, who are you going to share with? Mr. Moore, can you come on and talk about why it's important to know who to share with?
Absolutely, Ms. Ross. And again, when you talk about who are you sharing it with, every single one of you out there tonight, every Planet Marketing representative, you should have a list. Let's start there. You should have a list. And if you haven't made a list, start tonight writing your list, because you have plenty of time to do so, number one. Go ahead and start making your list. Very important. And I'll be transparent with you, Ms. Ross. When I first got started, I didn't make a list initially. Number one, I didn't know to. Nobody told me. But when I heard people talking about making a list, I said, you know what? I know who I want to share it with. I know who I want to talk to. Guys, I promise you, your memory will not last longer than the paper and the ink. I promise you that. Here's the other thing that happened for me, Ms. Ross, when I realized what writing the list really meant. Because there was another dimension of what I saw when I talked about making the list. Because in this business, your list is really your foundation. So if you're building a business, you need a foundation. Your list is the foundation, because people are the resources. And the other thing that came to me, Ms. Ross, as I was writing the list, I read somewhere that I was actually writing a vision and I was making it plain. And see, when I began to write that list, I saw people as builders, not just as people. So when you're making that list, guys, you want to make sure you're talking to putting everybody on the list. Don't make a decision for the people that you put on the list. Put them all on the list. Now, Ms. Ross, that's very important, because we automatically think, well, Ms. Ross, she owned a preschool. She wouldn't want to know anything about this. And they leave you off the list. Orlanda Moore, he retired military, 22 years. He wouldn't want to know anything about this. And then make a decision for me without allowing me to make my own decision. So who you're sharing it with, very important. Make the list and don't leave anybody off the list. Ms. Ross?
Wonderful. You're absolutely right. Mr. White, your thoughts about who are you going to share with and how?
This is really critical, and as Mr. Moore said, he really touched on it. You're really going to jog your memory, because I read a study that said the average 25-year-old knows over 1,000 people over the course of their lifetime. And so it's so important, but most times what people do is they prejudge. They make a decision for the people of who's going to join and who's not going to join. And I always tell people, if you think about a microwave, a bag of popcorn, if the manufacturers knew which ones weren't going to pop, they wouldn't put them in. And so it goes to this point. The ones you think will, won't, but the ones who you think won't, will. So it's really important that you write down everybody you know, and there's memory joggers that ask you questions, and that's designed to help you think about who you know. But once you think about the people you know, think about who you know in common. And once you think about the people that you know, think about the different organizations you're a part of, right? If you just really take time, not just who's your immediate circle, but go back and start thinking and rekindle those relationships, Ms. Ross. And then once you begin to share, as you said, this business with them, Ms. Ross, the relationships, again, they want to know exactly what you're up to. So again, the memory jogger is going to be key, and you want to make a list and share with everybody you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to reiterate, you've got to create that list. And who do you put on the list? Everyone from your phone, your emails, friend, and you're going to contact your friends, your family, coworkers, neighbors, everyone. We talked about the memory jogger, social media. A lot of people have a social media group of friends. Some you know, some you don't know. And I find that a lot of people that are friends of mine, sometimes friends of mine, I don't know them, but they're interested in hearing about my business. But what do I need to do? Responsibly share the information with them. There's warm market and there's cold market. Warm market are the people that you know. Cold market are the people that you don't know, right? And so we like to say, talk to the people that you know first before you go into the stranger danger, before you can start talking to people that you don't know. People are involved with groups. And again, it's great to promote your business. We have an e-commerce business, but guess what? Relationship is the new currency. So start with those relationships you have and then branch off or do simultaneously both, right? Let's keep moving on. Next is, how are you sharing, right? And Mr. White, I want to bring you back up for this because you talked about something. You talked about your excitement, right? How should you be sharing the information? What things should you really be focused on as you present your information?
Well, Ms. Ross, again, when I talk about excitement, when you think about your future, it should be exciting. You may not be there yet, but you should definitely be excited, and your tonality should speak as such. You got to have anticipation in your voice. But when you talk to your friends, be natural. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to sound like you're phony, you're fake, you sound like somebody else. You start calling by their last name, Ms. Ross. We're friends, but I'm calling you and says, hey, Eileen. You know what I'm saying, Ms. Ross. See, that'll put a red flag up. Now you're concerned. But the biggest thing, what she used to tell us is you got to slide the truth. How did you get started? And so I always tell people, think about it this way. If you actually was skeptical, but you went to tell the person no, tell your friend and say, look, I had a rule of no, I don't do those things. But when I went to the presentation to tell them no, it just made sense. And again, I'm the type of person, I'm not going to try to get people something I don't believe in. But again, I don't know if this for you or not, but I just want you to take a look. I see the thing, Ms. Ross, if you're sincere, if you're authentic, then people will listen to you. But if you try to be phony and be slick and come with all these isms and so forth, trying to be like something you think, that's when you're going to be frustrated because you can say it's not working. No, it's not. It is working, but people don't want phony. They want authentic. Ms. Ross.
Mr. Moore, what do you say? How should you say it?
Ms. Ross, I love this. I love this. Mr. White nailed it. Again, you got to be authentic with people. And again, be yourself, guys. Be natural. And the fact is, Ms. Ross, when you're talking about sharing information with people that you know, I want to kind of handle what a lot of people, what I consider an objection, right, in this part of the Pique Interest. See, the fact is, the people that you have a relationship with, you should have enough friend equity already built up that they owe you 30 minutes. And we got to think about that. Now, what kind of relationship do you really have? That's the other thing I learned about this industry. It'll really reveal the type of relationship you have. So if you don't have enough friend equity built up, then you got to keep working on that rapport. But every single person, Ms. Ross, that I'm friends with, guess what? You owe me 30 minutes. And what do I say to them? Hey, listen, I'm launching the biggest business project of my career. I need your support. I need you to take a look at what I'm doing because I don't want you to miss out on what's taking place right now. I'm piquing that interest. That's it. And if we got that relationship, Ms. Ross, and you don't give me 30 minutes, okay. See, I see now where to meet you. That's called an abusive relationship, period. And that's how I approach, and I got everybody's different, Ms. Ross, but if people really not be afraid of losing the relationship, now you don't have to be my friend to be in the business, but as my friend, you need to take a look at my business if we call ourselves friends. Ms. Ross?
I love it. I love it. Again, be yourself. Think only of your prospect and how will the business benefit them. See, too often we don't talk about how the business will help them. We're talking about we need one more person to be a goal builder, right? I need to know you're talking to me about something you want me to look at. Tell me why I would want to, right? And then again, as Mr. White and Mr. Moore said, tell the truth. Tell the truth about your business model. Please don't go out and say that you should join my business because you can fly from Atlanta to Paris for $20 to become a travel professional. Tell the truth. Share the actual information about the business. Be authentic. People hear what you hear, how you feel before they hear what you say. So do you have rapport with the person, right? If you don't have rapport, you've got to build it. You've got to make it personal. And again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Mr. White, building rapport is so important. People think you can just go out, give them a card, and they're going to join your business. Talk about building rapport.
Ms. Ross, this is extremely important. Building rapport is getting to know the person. It's finding out their hot buttons, finding out what's in it for them. Everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM. And so too often we're trying to be interesting instead of being interested. And you got two ears and you got one mouth. So you should be listening much more than you're speaking. And how you build rapport is by simply asking questions. How you build rapport with one form, if you don't know somebody is using the form method, ask them, so are you from here? It just depends if it's cold market or warm market. If it's somebody I know, I'm engaging with questions and finding out, what's going on in their life, finding out, hey, what's taking place here? See, I think you said, but you got to connect with a person's heart before you can ask what's in their hand. And so when you just build rapport is just taking time to be interested and actually getting to know them. And they'll tell you, if you listen, I call it Mirandaizing, if you watch the shows and the police say everything you say can and will be used against you. See, in our business, you take what they say and then you use what they say to show them this is why I believe this would be a great avenue or something you need to really take a look at, Ms. Ross.
Wonderful. Yes, indeed. Mr. Moore, building rapport, that's something that's really high on your list and you've mastered it, you teach it, but talk about if you don't have rapport, you've got to build it.
Very important. And Mr. White nailed it, Ms. Ross. The thing I would caveat to that, it takes a process, right? It might take a minute to build rapport. As Mr. Bradley often talks about, he's still building rapport with us, right? And so with your prospects, guys, just because you meet them today, you build a rapport, that's it. Now I'm exposing them. I need you on. No, it might take you a month. It might take you a year. You got to keep building that rapport with that person. And most people don't wait that long, Ms. Ross, but I promise you and assure you, when they really see the genuineness of your relationship, and as you talked about earlier, not just seeing them as that number, gonna make me bronze, gonna make me gold, gonna make me fit. No, that's genuine concern about helping them. Building rapport is a process. It's not gonna happen overnight. You gotta continue to build rapport as you build in this business. Ms. Ross?
And I want to talk a little bit briefly about even with social media. You know, people, they want to prospect online and they want to instantly send them a video. They want to instantly get them on a presentation. But what about instantly saying, how are you? You know, what do you tell me? I say all the time when people want to be my friend, I say, well, you know what? I look at their page and say, I see we have a few friends in common. Thank you for the friend request. Tell me, are you in Planet Marketing or in Sales Travel? And then they say no. And I said, well, then tell me what inspired you. What about my page inspired you to want to be friends with me? As Mr. Moore said, I'm always asking questions because I want to build rapport. I want to know what was it that you saw that made you say, yes, I want to connect with this person. And the last person that I had that experience with, she said, I went to your page and I love the fact that you are inspirational and I'm interested in entrepreneurship. And I asked, are you an entrepreneur? She said, well, I'm trying. I said, I'd love to share with you what I'm doing. She said, I'd love to hear about it. Very simple. I don't know her, but building rapport, I didn't go right into, and I'm getting her offline now. Mr. Moore, talk about that. Getting offline, right? You talk to people online, but building rapport takes place offline.
And Ms. Ross, this is very, 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 very key. Because again, when you meet people online, again, just being very transparent, real talk tonight, there are predators online. You don't know who are you talking to online. If a person is apprehensive about going offline, that's a red flag for me, Ms. Ross. When I say, hey, well, let's exchange contact info, well, nah, okay, no problem. And I'll leave it there, but it also lets me know, okay, there's a reason that you might not want to talk offline. Either you're not as sincere as you seem to be, or you got some stuff you don't really want to reveal. And that's okay. We'll continue to build the rapport. But taking that offline, Ms. Ross, is very, very important because the fact is, online, messenger, chat, you can't feel that. You can read it, but guess what? The perception is up to you. How do you perceive the message I'm sending you? It might be totally wrong, but when I get you offline, at least you hear my voice. And again, here's another key, Ms. Ross. Even though some people don't want to exchange their phone number, guess what? From Messenger, I can call you. Okay, well, listen, I understand I don't just share my number with strangers. Is it okay if I call you via Messenger? They still need to hear me, and then they can really hear my heart and feel what I'm sharing with them when we talk about building that rapport, Ms. Ross, and the genuineness about helping them.
Wow, wow. Mr. White, would you like to add anything to getting your prospects offline and building rapport while they're online?
Mrs. Moore nailed it, and it was so good, but what both of you shared. And I think as he was leading, I was just waiting for him to make this point because I actually got it from him. He said, think about it, this is relationship marketing. So even if you meet somebody online, don't you eventually want to meet them? Right? It's one thing for us to talk online and do it, but I want to see you in person. I want to meet you. So I know that we're quarantined, but that's what I love as he was talking about. You want to take them from online. So you want to build that rapport, and when the time is right, you want to connect with them. You want to be able to feel. You want to, because this is a transfer of emotions. And so when people can really get to know you're a real person, you're authentic. Now they're really interested. As the woman told you, you know, I'm trying to be an entrepreneur, and you told her, I would love to see what you're doing. But that's a relationship. And so, guys, just like building a relationship, you got to get to know the person. It's going to take time.
Got to get to know them. Remove all the emotions. Understand this is a business. Oh, we've got to talk about this really briefly. People get so upset and so frustrated. And I think, Mr. Moore, this is another very, very important aspect of piquing interest. You cannot be emotional when people don't want to hear what you have to say. And people, how many times have you heard, Mr. Moore, I don't understand. Why don't they see this? You know, I don't know what to do. They won't return my call. Please talk about taking the emotions out of it. It's business.
Ms. Ross, I don't mean to laugh, but I'm sorry. I really am. I apologize. But it's so funny when people, if they listen to themselves, right, Why are you frustrated because they don't want to listen to what you're sharing? Why? Ms. Ross, here's what I learned. When a person says, and again, it's usually an objection, oh, well, they didn't watch the video. They told me to send it, but they never watched it. You don't have enough rapport built. That's exactly what we're talking about. Oh, they said it was okay, but they never did follow up. They said they were going to call me, they didn't. You don't have enough rapport built. That's why. You're a stranger to them. And people get frustrated, man, well, they didn't return my phone call. Now, if you know the person, that's supposed to be your best friend, now you realize that's not your best friend. My best friend won't call me back. That's not your best friend, right? So you talk about building a rapport, Ms. Ross. Again, get out of your emotions. I'm never in my emotions, Ms. Ross, because I'm always in motion. Guess what? Tell me yes, tell me no, tell me quick. I got to go. I'm going to build a rapport. And I got 10 people in play, 10 prospects in play. I got 10 people I've peaked. I got 10 people I've shown the plan. I got 10 people I'm scared to do 3 ways with. I'm already always in motion, so I'm never in my emotions. Ms. Ross?
Mr. White, you've been in this industry for decades and you've seen it all, you've heard it all. Talk about not taking it personally. It's not emotions, it's business.
It's just business, Ms. Ross. But one of the things people have to do is emotionally detach themselves from the outcome. See, as Mr. Moore said, you purchased the opportunity, you're in the opportunity, you're experiencing it. So whether they say yes or no, that shouldn't concern you or bother you. You're just simply letting them know and collecting a decision. Your thoughts should be, listen, you're my friend. And you know what? I wanted to share this with you. But see, whether they say yes or no, you can't get attached to the yes or no. Right? You're going to have people to tell you no, you're going to have people to tell you yes. So when you get the no's are building you, they're teaching ways to do it better, but the yeses are building your business. So Ms. Ross, the biggest thing people have to do is stop taking it personal. They have to detach themselves emotionally from the outcome. If the person says yes, great. If they say no, great. Guess what? You still have the opportunity. It hadn't changed. So that's the biggest thing. Once you remove the emotion, is what you said, and you detach yourself from their response, you're going to be a lot more successful, because whether they say yes or no, that doesn't change that you made a great decision, and that doesn't change the opportunity. Lastly, Ms. Ross, and I'm definitely finished, but I remember one day I was laughing I was Wednesday, we went on a trip, and I just started laughing. They was like, what you laughing for? And I was laughing because I'm sitting here on the beach on a Wednesday living a great life, and I just started thinking, they told me no, and they still in their cubicle, right? And I don't mean that offensively, but when you go back and think, they said no, and it's funny to me, Ms. Ross.
You know what? Everyone really needs to understand, when people tell you no, what they're saying, they're not saying no to you. They're really saying no to themselves. There's something about them they typically doubt. And when someone tells me no, Mr. White, Mr. Moore, all I know is that what they're saying is, Ms. Ross, you're going to be successful, but it just won't be with me. I'm choosing not to go on that journey with you. And that's okay. Keep it super simple. The KISS formula, K-I-S-S.
Ms. Ross.
Please, Mr. Moore.
No, I was going to caveat to one last thing about the emotions, and it's just business. Real quick, very quick, because I've also seen, I know some people probably experienced this, where that person they did expose didn't get started with them. You still can't be emotional about that. I got people partnering with other people, Ms. Ross, that I know I exposed. They just want to be my business partner. Don't be emotional about that as well, because it's just business. And maybe I wasn't business savvy enough as Mrs. Eileen Ross. So they'd rather be in business with Ms. Ross, although we still have a relationship. So that's another thing I just wanted to point out real quick. Don't be emotional if somebody you did expose partner with someone else other than you. Just continue to grow. Ms. Ross?
Oh, that's powerful. We're really giving the people powerful, applicable nuggets, because we hear these things all the time. The frustration level is so high, but remember, it's don't take it personally. But part of it too, and Mr. White, I want you to speak on this. Part of it is we didn't exercise KISS, keeping it super simple. Mr. White, how often do you hear that people feel as though they have to know everything, which means they tell everything, which means you are really taking the duplication and the leverage, and now you've overwhelmed your prospect.
Absolutely, and so many people do this, Ms. Ross. Again, 70% of the business is taught before the person joins. What that means is what you do, that's what they believe they'll do. And that's why we said, what was explained to you? What did you say? They said, hey, and so do the same thing, but most people complicate a simple process. And that's what Mr. Moore alluded to earlier, but you want to keep it super simple, right? Don't try to over-explain it. See, because when you do that, you lose people because they think, I don't have time to do that. I can't learn all that. So that's why we say keep it super simple. Use the tools, leverage Duplicate. See, that's duplicatable. And so you want to keep it super simple, Ms. Ross. Less is more. You think I got to say more to get more people? No. The less you say, the more, the better you do, Ms. Ross.
And we always say it's not about the messenger, it's about the message. So to become that professional inviter, that master inviter, Mr. Moore, speaking with conviction, what are some of the things that you can say to someone? The Pique Interest sentence that you use, or the sentences, some of them are listed here, but Mr. Moore, talk about that, keeping it super simple.
Absolutely, Ms. Ross. And again, less is truly more when you talk about piquing interest. Piquing interest. I need to show you what I'm doing. I need you to take a look at this. Man, listen, I need your support, right? That's simple. You can everybody can say that. And again, a lot of people will better understand the type of relationship they have with people when they keep it simple. I would like your feedback. You know what? I'm just getting started. I don't know all the ins and outs yet, but I'm working with some very successful people. Man, I want you to take a look at this thing. I know you. You travel all the time. We talked about when we was growing up, making money. I know you. You just like me. I found a way to win. Keep it simple. And when you do that, guys, it's going to be so simple. I won't even call it easy. It's going to be simple, but it won't be easy. You got to keep it simple, because if you're looking for easy, everybody can do it. Easy don't get you anywhere. Keeping it simple takes you down the road, Ms. Ross.
And enjoyable. It makes it enjoyable when you keep it simple, when you're natural, when you are really speaking with that passion and letting people know, hey, I just want to empower you. That's what really exposes people. Now, exposure time, getting right into it. Next is exposure time. You've piqued interest, right? You built that rapport. Now it is exposure time. Mr. White, what are some of the things after you've had that exposure, now that it's time to expose, what should you be doing?
Well, what I love, Ms. Ross, is now you got to have a sense of urgency. And so once you pique their interest and you got them interested, you need to leverage or get them to a tool. Now, again, a lot of times we have the mobile app in their videos, and so you don't just blanket send them just in general. You cater to based on what you talk to them about. When we say exposure, it could be a conference call. It could be a webinar. It could be a video. It could be a one-on-one, when we're not quarantined, a travel party. There are many, many, many exposures, and there are many tools, but it really depends on the person. So I think when we say be authentic, if you listen, people kind of guide you and tell you which way to go, as opposed to sending just a generic video or spamming people and saying, well, they didn't call me back. That's another thing. You got to take the time and build a rapport. That's that first step. If you do that, then they'll tell you what to send them because they're interested. And so, Ms. Ross, again, it may take multiple exposures, but the biggest thing is you need to expose them to something. They got to see something. The last thing people say, just tell me about it. Don't do that. And I'll just make this quick point and then I'll throw it back to you. See, an invitation, inviting them to see there is an invitation. What they say, keep it simple, invite them to something. A presentation, when you start explaining it. So if you give them a presentation and they feel, well, why do I need to, I got it, or I've seen something like that. And now you're frustrated. But the reason why was because you moved away from the invitation and you got into a presentation, and guys, this visual is something they need to see. So use the tools and let the tools do the heavy lifting for you, Ms. Ross.
Mr. Moore, having a sense of urgency, getting with your coach, isn't that very important too? Having that coachability element so that now you are being guided with where to take them. You're being guided with the proper steps. How important is that?
Very, very, very important, Ms. Ross. And I always tell people, when you get started, you will be assigned a success coach. That's what I'm talking about. Someone who's going to provide the coaching to you, the guidance to you. Hey, listen, you've done this. Now let's take this route, right? Guys, and then Mr. White nailed it as well. Operate with that sense of urgency. I call it the fierce urgency of now. Not waiting, not procrastinating. You don't pique their interest, then you don't hear from them again. No, you got to continue and operate a sense of urgency, no waiting, all the tools, all the resources, but know what tools you have that you're going to utilize, depending on the person that you pique their interest with. And then, like you stated, get with your coach. Very important, because it's time to take this thing to the next dimension by really now exposing them to the opportunity and the information.
Wonderful, wonderful. And last but not least, harvest time, seed time and harvest time. And Mr. White alluded to it. You did as well, Mr. Moore, where you talk to people over the last 4 years. And guess what, Mr. White? Some of the people that you talked to 3 years ago are now joining your business. Mr. Bradley always says, people, it's not that people are not going to join our business, it's who they're going to join with. And every time you talk to a person, even if they told you no 4 years ago, you planted a seed. Can you talk about that, Mr. White?
Absolutely, Ms. Ross. You know, again, I just want to use this real quickly as we wrap up. I be very transparent because sometimes when people see yourself or see Mr. Moore, see myself, they think we hadn't went through the nose. They think, but see, we've been doing this for a period of time, so we've been perfecting our skills and we're getting better and better, but we still get no's. But when we say harvest time, I remember one time I was a little bit down. I was talking to Mr. Brad. I said, man, I'm talking to these people. I just feel like I can't get a breakthrough. And I'll never forget, he said, Ms. White, you might forget the work, but the work won't forget you. And that speaks to harvest time. See, everybody wants to put the seed, but they don't realize the time. You got to cultivate it. That's what they alluded to earlier when they were saying relationships and they take multiple exposures. Seed time, harvest time. Everybody just wants to harvest, but they don't want to plant the seeds. They just want instant gratification, as you alluded to earlier, Ms. Ross. And so it's so important that you understand, guys, just continue to plant the seeds. Just continue to do the work. Just continue to go through this process as you're being explained, and you will get the harvest. So you might see us now saying, oh, 5-star, 6-star, oh my goodness, I can never, no, guys, we've been putting time in, and now we're just seeing some of the manifestations from the seeds we've sown over years. So the only thing is, we did saw before you did, but if you take these principles that we're teaching, guys, you're gonna have your harvest time.
And guess what? It's about going through the quantity to find the quality. Mr. Moore, again, it's about, yes, the duplication process of what we're talking about. Yes, I may have told Tawanda Shamley, but Tawanda Shamley is now responsible for 800 plus people in my organization, planting a lot of seeds. Talk about that seed time and harvest time. You've got to be patient. You got to plant a lot of seeds, but but guess what? I use the analogy of a farmer. When a farmer plants seeds, you may have a packet of 100 seeds. You plant the seeds, right, Mr. Moore? And you till the soil and you water, and then the seeds start to sprout. And out of those 100 seeds, you may only have 25 plants. But Mr. Moore, how many farmers go looking for the other 75 seeds that didn't come up? Don't we just focus on the 25? Can you talk about that? Seed time, harvest time.
I love it, Ms. Ross. And I also equate the seed time and harvest time to the legendary Jim Rohn, when he talked about the law of sowing and reaping, right? And again, that's what it is. You keep sowing the seeds. Planet marketing is good seed, right? It's good ground. And we have what we can be sowing. And we got to keep sowing this seed. And he talked about the sower was an ambitious sower. And that's what made the difference. Meaning no matter what, he kept sowing the seed. Some of the seeds hit rocky ground. He kept sowing the seeds. The wind killed, he kept sowing the seeds. Ms. Ross, people got to keep sowing the seeds, and that's what Ms. White just talked about. That's the only thing we've done differently. We keep sowing the seeds. We keep exposing. We keep piquing interest. We keep showing the plan. We keep leveraging the tools and resources. We stay connected. We keep doing the simple things consistently. And guarantee, guys, your harvest is going to come. You have to keep sowing the seeds, keep fertilizing the soil, keep watering the plants. Again, all of that is what we're doing right now. This is part of your watering. You're growing with this. Understand that, because you're going to be better equipped the next time you talk to that prospect. Keep sowing the seeds. Your harvest is coming. Guaranteed. Ms. Ross?
I tell you what, that concludes our training for this evening. Mr. White, do you have any closing comments? And then Mr. Moore as well, as we close out and say goodnight to everyone.
Well, Ms. Ross, again, what a stellar training, and I'm just happy to be a part. I think we owe it to the team so you understand that you got to master these basic fundamentals. The only difference, guys, is you got to put the time in. And guess what? Be willing to miss it in order to make it. What I mean by that is before you can be great, you're going to be good. Before you can be good, you might even be bad. Before you can even be bad, you got to get started. So don't be fearful. Take the shot. Continue to put the work in, and understanding your time will come. Guys, your time will come. So again, thank you so much, Ms. Ross, for having me on. It's a pleasure to serve with you and serve the planet. Thank you for all that you do. Mr. Moore.
Yes, Ms. Ross, the only thing I was, again, like Mr. White talked about, it's an honor to serve the team, the Planet family. Guys, I would simply say, keep doing the simple things consistently. Don't think that it has to be more, right? Again, we still doing these simple things we telling y'all about. We are still piquing interest. We still showing the plan. I promise you, it's nothing extra except the work. Keep doing more of what you're doing. Keep getting good at what you're doing. So don't think because you get stuck, man, what I need to do different? Nothing. You need to do more of it and get better at what you're doing right now. So keep sowing the seeds, guys. Keep staying plugged in, all those things we talked about, and you're going to continue to grow. And again, honored to serve tonight, Ms. Ross. Again, thank you so much for leading this training.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for participating. Make sure you plug in. That's another key element, plugging into every opportunity to learn from the INVs Monday through Friday. We've got a powerful presentation that we're going to do again with some stellar presenters to share your business. Then we've got the Super Saturday event where we're going to, again, bring our Super Saturdays to life virtually. So you really want to make sure you get your prospects in front of it and make sure you add to your calendar. Everyone, again, have a great evening and make your notes come to life. We will see you again this time next Wednesday as we continue to take you through basic training. Good night, everyone.